Hello and good day to my fellow championship belt enthusiasts. It's been a fair while since I've been able to produce a video evaluation, but today I have got the opportunity to run through the gauntlet on straps. I've got some examples here of various quality leathers, and we're going to go through them from what I consider the lowest quality up until the highest. Stick around and enjoy. So we will start things off with what I believe is a very economically produced strap. You see it's got a tip stamp there. This says Hamyar Belts, the press plate snap box with the little skull top hat dude. I think that's pretty cool actually. But as you see here, no finishing at all. Just a rough cut on the outside with a backing glued to it. Dare I say, I don't think this material is even proper leather. This is some kind of composite hide. It's actually very soft and flexible to the touch, but in the stress points, it's starting to fray. So I don't know where this was sourced or what it's made from. But we've got a press plate box, we've got raw cuts on the outside, we've got minimal clamshell or camouflage tooling across the border, and very wide cuts. This is one example of very fast, very easy to produce leather. Coming into our next tier, this is a harder material, more dense, doesn't flop as much with flexibility. You see we've got a press plate snap box with rough cuts around the edges. There's no tip stamp on this, but if you pay attention in belts, you kind of recognize the design in this snap box. If you look around, so this is a harder piece of material. It's got the shell tooling. The cuts are not clean on this. If you look at the four corners of the belt, no two of them are the same. So the template or the placement of the plates on this, I don't know exactly what went wrong, but very rushed, lazy. Take a look at the tooling here. We've come up over the border. Whoever was doing the stamping on this belt is getting paid by the piece, and we just did not pay attention to details. You look at the edges, though, they did make an attempt to do some kind of burnishing. It has been rounded in the more stressed parts. And our backing has been glued on. This is a newer belt. This was made within the current year. But, I mean, look at the lack of skill and care used in stamping this belt is what puts it on the lower end. Also, something you can notice here, the strap cut is wider than the tip. So they've tapered it to put a tip on at the end. And if we turn it around, look at the back, you can see here, not a lot of flexibility in the strap, but it is solid. So more work, but less skill with this belt. So here's where we start getting into some of the better work. You see here, this one is done by hand. It's a pretty soft hide material. You can look at the marks that were made as guide points. All of the snap box is tooled by hand. These are hand-drawn lines. You see we don't have a press plate anywhere in action. So this was actually worked on by a medium quality person, let's say. As you look at here, right, all of this was actually done. You can see the work that went into it. There's no perfect lines, but we actually took care to put the things that need to go where they are. The maker that I got this from is the only one that actually admitted to me that he's in the export business, so I know that he sources all of the work that gets done on his belts. He also has a sexy catalog of backings. If you look at this blue-black snake croc, it is very shiny, beautiful. I mean, this is like my favorite backing I have on any belt here. The edges are burnished, albeit the quality of the work here is not of a master leathersmith. However, if you apply the function of quality, speed, and price, this one's a pretty high check in all boxes. These belts turn around pretty fast. So we've seen press plate snap boxes with rough cuts. We've seen all the work done by hand. This is a tier. You take a look at that maker stamp right there. This strap was cut by a laser. So it's got a perfect shape. It's got all the guidelines printed in. It's been stamped by hand after the fact. But there is machinery available that's on the market and in use that's very expensive that will cut your strap for you and make your process a lot more easy to fulfill. I had a pretty good working relationship with this maker for a while, but he kept harassing me to buy more belts, and it is what it is. I'm not a buyer anymore. What you can see though here is that the seal was not put on the corner to the backing. I've had this belt for 2 years now, and the edges are burnished, they're beveled, but the backing is starting to peel, and I don't handle these belts very much. They've just sat, so it's got to do with, I don't know, the adhesive or the quality. It's a medium flex material there. You see it kind of stands on its end, but we're getting better overall. This next belt that I show by this next maker has a lot in common with the last one, maybe a lot more than you might realize. I don't know if anybody told Ali that he doesn't have an R on his stamp in Altair. Nevertheless, same thing. We've got laser cut. We've got all of the stamping done in the snap box. Lots of nice bevel lines around the outside. Again, all of the details that you want are put in here. There's a lot of work done. This material is a little bit on the stiff side, but it's weighed down nicely and shaped. And as you see, this is from last year, this specimen. I know that since then, this maker has started sealing his edges. So we've got some ruffle points here because, again, as these belts age, they will separate if they're not properly sealed. But burnishing is very nice on the edge. The beveling throughout and the attention to detail is top-notch. We take a look at the backing here. So we've got some stress lines and some wrinkling going on here, but again, I understand this has been addressed at the Wazirabad shop, and they now seal the edges on their belts. American leather. This is a term that used to get thrown around as a catch-all for professionally done leathersmith straps. As you see, Romeo Anderson has the stamp on this one. From what I understand, he's out of the game, but I picked up this belt aftermarket for a steal of a price. You can take a look at all of the crafting points. Romeo Anderson was very famous for doing these straps, and the backing has not separated from the hide. All of the details have been taken care of. One thing I do observe though, these plates appear to have been mounted to a thinner piece of hide, more like a 5 or 7 ounce instead of a traditional 9 that other makers have done. I don't know if that's because he generally did replica belts or if he got cheaper over time, but again, top-notch quality work here on pretty darn good materials. Take a look at the difference I was talking about earlier right here. See how we've got 1, 2 thicknesses. So of all the belts that I've had the privilege to own or handle, we've come to the top of the mountain. Right here, ORM Leathers. This specimen was made last year, and we've got the thickness of all the other belts. We've got the soft flexibility of the floppiest belt I have. We've got all the detail of the most intricate belts I've seen. And it all comes together in this phenomenal piece of work that is sealed at the edges so the backing will not come apart. It turns, it twists, it's soft. Look at the cuts. We've got nice pointy edges. We've got beveling, we've got burnishing, we've got tooling all the way through. Now, I can't speak for the buying experience for this maker. If you guys have been in the know, you know that there's big controversy, and also WWE has a bullseye painted on this guy's back. But this, in my opinion, is the finest leather that I've seen on a belt, and that is the maker that made it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Until we get to the next video, happy collecting.